Hello and welcome back to 1874 in association with Match Bingo. If you head to 1874.io/Match Bingo, you'll be able to buy yourself some football and sports related bingo cards. You can buy them for £2, buy as many as you want or as little as you want, and then you give yourself a chance of winning between £25 and £250. Actually, you can win a little bit more at times as well, because I tried it for the Birmingham Ipswich game and very nearly won a hefty amount of money, but it was nearly, alas, I'll go again next time. So if you sign up for Match Bingo, you help us as a channel and we all really, really appreciate it. Now, I am joined by, for the love of Paul McGrath's, Neil Dunworth with sensational spiky hair today, if you are watching via YouTube. And what we're going to do is, pre-season is done for Villa. It's done and dusted. It's in the bank. Good pre-season by many accounts for some players, probably not great for some others. But what I did last night on Twitter was I asked for your big predictions for Villa in the 25-26 season. It could be as baseless, or as niche as you like. And I went for Kamara to be the player's player of the season and Ollie to hit 20-plus goals in the league. Neil, delighted to have you. And before we get into the predictions that were sent in, have you got a nonsense baseless prediction, or a prediction that you think will come to fruition this coming 25-26 season for Aston Villa?
I have a prediction because the last two seasons we've had, it's because of the last two seasons we've had, I think we're going to have this incredibly amazing stat that no other team can even come close to replicating again this season. I don't know what that is. So 2 years ago, we had the high line. Last year, we had conceding goals from the first shot on target.
Oh,
I think we're going to have another bonkers one this year that just comes out of nowhere. Something along the lines of, I don't know, most touches for a winger in the Premier League. Something ridiculous like that will, after about 6 months of the league, people will start, it'll be just repeated all the time, like the Ollie Watkins has missed 27 big chances thing. It'll just be repeated ad nauseum. But I think it's going to be a good one. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good season as well. I'm feeling positive heading into Saturday. I can't wait to be back at Villa Park. And of course, there'll be plenty of content coming up on 1874. We'll get back into the usual rhythm of all the things that we've always done as the season approaches. Now,
I have another one as well, Dan.
Oh, go on then. Sorry.
I think we have I think a defender is going to score more than 3 goals this season.
No,
very rarely happens.
Never.
I've got a sneaking suspicion Ian Matson's going to go on a run.
Unless we sign Martin Larsson back for the season, nobody's going to get anywhere near that. I'll throw one in there as well. I'm going to throw Tyrone Mings will score this season. Maybe even if he plays on Saturday against Newcastle. But Tyrone Mings will score a goal this season for Villa. Centre-backs just don't want to know in front of goal for Villa. And I've got a feeling, actually, that someone sent in something along those lines. So we'll get into it now. The first one comes from Will Lawson. Says, Buendia to more than Phil Asensio's boots, and Bizot to save a penalty against Newcastle at the weekend. What do you make of that?
Do they have that in Match Bingo?
Not on Match Bingo. Oh, they probably have penalty saved on there, actually. They will have a penalty saved in there. But I quite liked that. Obviously, Buendia is quite a big topic of conversation at the moment because he's had a good pre-season, almost like was surplus to requirements at the start of the season, but he looks to have played his way back in, and I think he'll feature, whether it be from the bench or from the start against Newcastle. But decent shouts there from Will, I'd say. But the Bizot one's obviously a lot has to happen for that to come true.
Yeah, I think Buendia might even start if Rodgers is out.
Yeah, if Rodgers is out, I think he's got a chance.
Yeah, for him to start. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they could come true. Yeah,
I did say a few weeks ago about Buendia coming back into contention, and I got a bit of not abuse, but a few people questioning me in the YouTube comments. But it turns out I think I was along the right lines. Next up, this is probably my favourite one out of everything that was sent in there. So Jonathan Ridgway says the Villa Park PA man to play the Champions League theme at the start of a Europa League game as an apology for last season. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Just play it before every Premier League game. Just really, really mess with the opposition.
That's the aim. That's the aim as well, isn't it? That's what we're aiming for. We want to get back in the Champions League. But I love that music. I'm gonna really miss that music playing at Villa Park. But I will say, I do really like the Europa League anthem as well. But it doesn't hit the same as the Champions League anthem.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. But look, if manifestation is a thing, if all those positive mental attitude things really work, well, then why not do it before every league game? And as I say, yeah, really, probably. Do you know why you probably can't do it? Because the Premier League will probably fine you £1 million for every time you don't play the Premier League anthem. So that's probably it. Which actually, I don't mind the Premier League anthem either.
No, I don't mind that either. I just like an anthem generally, Ida. I quite like
Yeah.
them. I quite like this. This feels very much like something that Mikel Arteta might do in training. Just roll the Champions League anthem out for his players before the Champions League. I bet he makes them before the training session, before Champions League game. I bet he makes them do the lineup so they can get into the mood and get into the feel of it. It does feel very Mikel Arteta. Next up, we've got Graham here, who says, I've supported Villa for probably the same length of time as you, Dan, so will it be the same kind of length of time as you as well now? He says, I'm convinced this is the best squad I've seen in my time, including Ron, Brian Little and O'Neill. 25-26 has to bring us a cup, hopefully the Europa League and top 5. Positive mental attitude there, coming in with all those things, but I have us at 5th at the moment. And surely at some point we are going to win a trophy, Neil. Me and you aren't going to pass away in old age without seeing Villa win another trophy, surely.
Well, when did you put out that tweet then? Because half of that has already come true. Half of it has already come true. We won the trophy, the Ceramica last night. So
see, I did this after that win, so I can't count it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I want silverware as well. Is my famous my dad's famous saying is you can't drink out of 5th place, but you can drink out of a trophy. And that's really it. They're the memories. I want us to get 5th place in Champions League as well, because it looks like England are going to be coefficient FC again this year and get that 5th place. I'd be blown away if that wasn't the case. Plus,
so many teams in Europe.
And I genuinely believe we've got better teams in Europe this year, even Spurs. So I think it's going to be. I think that we're nailed on for that 5th spot again. So
nailed on's that's a bit brash now.
No, I mean the English League, the Premier League is nailed on for that 5th spot again, and I think that we go win the trophy. And I think the fact that we've got 2 shots at getting Champions League football with the Europa League, I'm big on the whole point that January is going to be a decide what, a choose your own path, like those old choose your adventure books. Do we go down the road of the Premier League, or are we boxing really, really well in the Europa League, and do we put all our eggs in that basket? So, I think we've got options come January.
I do always think it's funny, like people say, would you rather have Spurs' season last year or Villa season? But to win the Europa League, you don't have to finish 17th. Like we can win the Europa League and still be in and around the top 6, top 7, which I'd be more than happy with. But you're right, if we win the Europa League, it kills 2 birds with 1 stone, because we finally get that trophy, and then we're back in the Champions League as well. So at the moment, that is my preference of what Villa do this season. They win the Europa League. I don't know whether it's easier for Villa to qualify for the Champions League via winning the Europa League, or whether it is through the 38 league game season. I'd hope we'd be a bit more consistent this year, because obviously the first half of the season really, really cost us. But if we'd have even won a couple more games in the first half of the season, which we probably should, would we have been near 3rd, I think, if we'd have managed that.
If we don't have that capitulation, like, ifs and buts are candy and nuts, but if you don't have that capitulation against Forest, where Anthony Elanga comes on and basically turns the game in the last 4 minutes, we are Champions League. We could point to loads of them. Ipswich, Bournemouth, myself and Paddy are blue in the face, because the Bournemouth one and the Forest one really scratched at the back of my brain for weeks after both of those, and I was hoping they wouldn't wouldn't matter towards the end of the season, but evidently they did. And cut those out next year, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm confident heading into the new season. Now, Gavin here, a lot of people came up with a similar vibe to this post, I will say. Marlon to hit 20 goals and assists this season. Now, a few weeks ago, that might have been something I would have gone with. He's been brilliant in pre-season. I really like him, as everyone who watches this channel will know. But Gasson's arrival has made me think that I think he'll start the season. I've got this feeling that he might fall into being the bench man again and not getting the minutes we think he deserves, or he thinks he deserves. I've got a sneaky feeling that might be something that ends up happening, but I hope not, because I really like him. And I hope if he can start the season well, it's a real chance for him to cement his place in this team and become a big player.
I think 20 is a lot. Like 20
goals and assists in all competitions.
In all competitions, I still think it's a lot. Like, I'm here feverishly clicking away to see if I can get the player stats for last year, to see how many players did it last year or even the year before. But I can't. I won't get it.
Don't worry about that now. We don't need facts on this show.
Facts are, you can make up your own ones.
We're not Rafa Benitez.
We actually only had one person that did it. Last year we had Ollie Watkins, got 24 goals and assists. No, that's only domestically. Let me get all competitions. Let's do something right for a change. We had 2 people. Morgan Rogers had 27 and Ollie Watkins had 31. Goal contributions. Yuri Tielemans 15, John Duran had 12, and John McGinn had 10, with a load of people at 9. And if we go back to the year previously, when we were on we scored more goals that year, and we were in the Conference League where we had the opportunity to score more goals. We only had two people that year as well, in Leon Bailey and Dolly Watkins, with Douglas Luiz coming at 19 and Diaby coming in at 19 as well. McGinn 16, Yuri Tielemans. So what I'm going to say here is that for somebody like Mike Mallon that may not play 40 games may not start 40 games next season, it'd be difficult. But I would say, like, I think probably what we would look at here is maybe get a third person in there, whoever it is. I'd be reluctant to name them, but I'm hoping that we've like a breakout year from somebody that gets over 20 this year. And maybe it might be Tielemans. Maybe it might be
could be
somebody like that.
You made the point about the Conference League, obviously, with it being easier than the Champions League as well. The Europa League is easier than the Champions League, although we did score a lot of goals in the Champions League, in fairness, didn't we? So I think there's a chance for that third person to come alive, because if they stay fit, you'd put money on Watkins and Rodgers doing it. If we could get that kind of third player, fourth player coming in and getting even somewhere near 20, getting 15, that would be huge for the season. Tom Murray says, Ollie to get 100 Premier League goals, to hit the 100 Premier League goals mark this season. Emmy to equal/beat Villa's Premier League clean sheet record, finish in the top 6 with a cup final.
If that happens, I'd be hoping we finish higher than top 6.
In the league?
Yeah, in the league. I'd be hoping that. Yeah. For clean sheet records, for him to beat the clean... I presume, is that the overall clean sheet record or the season-long clean sheet record? Because
I don't know.
It's not the season-long one, it's pretty decent. Yeah, it's yeah, I'd be bloody delighted with that. Considering there are two players that we potentially, at the end of last season, we're not sure if they were coming back this season, and there are two players that some fans in the fan group were kind of saying, look, let's cash in, and they've reached their potential. And while that may exactly be true, wouldn't it be great to have massive career arcs for that to come true, and Ollie gets over 20 goals and Emi Martinez blocks pebbles for the rest of the year? That'd be absolutely brilliant. It's not to prove anybody wrong or anything, but it would just go to show that holding on to your own sometimes can be more valuable than continually replacing and trying to get people up to speed, because those two guys are talismans for the teams, for this team. And they're without them at either end of the field, we do look a different outfit.
Yeah, Jonathan Johnson came on the channel last week to do a Gasson show, and he said he probably hadn't been something that I'd really stated loads, or that I'd heard loads of other people saying, that it was impressive that Villa have held on to their key players, and he thinks that's as big thing as any signing that we could make. But having Emmy and Ollie at the opposite end of the pitch, for me at the start of the summer, if I'd have been offered that, I'd have absolutely taken it. I'd have been surprised, but to have it, I think is brilliant. I fully trust them both, and I'm looking forward to them both, hopefully. It's more Emmy still feels a little bit up in the air, but Ollie is cut and dry staying for me.
Yeah, so if Watkins is to get 100 goals in the league, he needs 25. If he's to get 100 goals in his Aston Villa career, he needs 16, on all competitions. So, which actually to me is, I didn't know that, and I'm looking at it now and I'm going, he's only scored 9 goals in other competitions outside of the Premier League. Like, that just goes to show how good of a Premier League striker he is.
It also shows how generally we've been crap in the cups.
Exactly.
Over the years. Obviously, the Conference League would have boosted his numbers, but I don't think he played kind of every time in the Conference League. Duran would have played games there. On My Shirt Son says, we will witness a penalty shootout at Villa Park. Now, I'm trying to remember the last penalty shootout at Villa Park, and in my head, it's Inter Milan, Phil King. Is that the last penalty shootout at Villa Park now?
Could be.
That was genuinely my first European game at Villa Park, that was. And I remember not really seeing the penalty going because everyone stood up. I know we must have been stood up anyway, because it was still terracing then. I can't remember. I remember not seeing it go in anyway. How my dad feels every week at the football nowadays, because he can't get up quick enough. That was how I felt when I was 7 or 8, watching Phil King score the winning penalty, or not watching, as the case may be.
I remember going into school the next day and telling everybody about it, and nobody cared because nobody else is a Villa fan. No one cared about Phil King, and I was like, you guys don't know how big this is. You'll never know.
Big win that was against Inter Milan. Bergkamp playing for Inter Milan, if my memory serves me correctly. Now this is more like it. This is what I call getting into the spirit of things early season. Carlos Holtender81 says, 7th to 10th league finish, trophyless season, and you can put your life savings that will bottle a semi-final again in one of the cups. That's the spirit going into the new season, isn't it now?
That's what we want to see. Exactly. That's what we want.
So I feel, we could lose on Saturday, and I think I'd still be generally excited for the season. I don't think we will lose on Saturday for what it's worth, but my excitement levels going into the weekend, I don't know why, seem to be like the biggest they've ever
peaked.
been, and I'm not sure. It feels like a long time ago since I watched a football match live.
I'm always excited for the start of the season. I remember being excited for the start of the season when the season we were crap, and we Rudy Gestede scored on the first day of the season and against
Is it Kiwi?
Bournemouth.
Yeah,
I remember being beside myself at the start of that season. It didn't turn out to be great, but I am a blind optimist anyway. At the best of times,
yeah.
I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for the game at the weekend. I think that that it cannot be understated again. Once again, we've said it before: keeping our players, but also the fact that they've more or less been all around and injury free for the whole lot of the off season so far.
Careful.
Is yeah, exactly. I'm pretty careful touching wood with regards to that
Yeah,
at the
my hands
moment.
are on the desk.
But yeah, look, it's been a nice off season from that point of view. I think Unai Emery will be happy with that. The fact that he's been able to, get eyes on, get a lot of people on the pitch, and get a lot of people a lot of time in preseason, for working things out. So, um, I think Unai Emery, if you were to ask him which off season was better, last year's or this year's, I think he'll definitely say this year's because they got their headaches out of the way early, and he was even at that stage. I think he was always of the position that this is great as because he was from early doors. He was saying if we keep everyone, I'd be delighted. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I think he'd be absolutely blown up. He'd be really happy with this off season.
Yeah, I think we're looking strong. Or doing certain players are just looking incredibly sharper than I ever
Yeah.
remember them looking in a pre-season, which bodes well. For all the negativity of that last tweet that I read out, we've got the Simcoe villain that says continuity brings chemistry and a fourth place finish. Finals of the Europa League, quarters of the FA Cup. Ollie Bags 20 plus, Rogers with 20 plus goal involvements, Gasson with 10 goals. It's a nice world. I like the world that Simcoe villain lives in there.
Yeah, I think that it's yeah, sign me up for it. Absolutely. Gassan 10 goals would be brilliant.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
think
would be
we'll
really
take
good.
it. I think he'll have to take it steadily. So I remember Diaby hit the ground running straight away and then obviously faded away a little bit in the second half of the season. I don't feel like Gasson's going to hit the ground running, but I think he's going to be a good signing. I think he'll be
Mhm.
introduced slowly is my thinking. Do you agree?
I yeah, I do. I think he could be somebody that gets like 10 minutes at the end of games to get him up to speed with the team. Like the last two games that we played over the weekend, obviously against Marseille and against Villarreal, he was brought on. He was playing with players that the majority of them he's not going to be playing with on a
Mm.
Saturday. But the one thing I found interesting was Unai Emery got to look at him on the left hand side, got to look at him on the right hand side, and got to look at him in the 10 position, even in those 20-minute cameos that he got in both games. I think that was deliberate. He brings on Bradley Burrows and Pat. He brings on, first of all, starts him on the left hand side last night. Brings on Patterson, moves him over to the right hand side. Brings on Bradley Burrows, moves him into the center. I think that was done by design to kind of okay, I've to expedite this and I have to see where he is in each position. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I think we will see that. I think there won't be any pre-prescribed position for him at the start, but he might get 10 minutes on the left, 10 minutes on the right, 10 minutes up front, 10 minutes in the center. I think we'll see that. We'll see him kind of juggle around a bit. I think because Unai will want to get a good look at him with the starters, with their starting 11.
Yeah, I guess Unai will know in his head where he sees him fitting in right now. But those things can change as the season goes on and the season starts. You have a plan in your mind, and then things get ripped up or things go a certain way, and actually what you thought was going to happen isn't what happens. Tom
Mhm.
Lawrence here. This is niche. Well, not niche, but I don't think anyone else would have predicted this. Leon Bailey to get 15 plus goals and 10 assists. I'm going to be honest, I think we can probably rule that one out. Bailey may go on and have a great season. Like I've just said, things change, things happen that you don't expect. But 15 goals and 10 assists is a lot.
Yeah, I think you get big odds from
You
your
would.
bookies in that one. I think of all the wingers that we have outside of Rodgers, I think probably the one to back to get a hefty amount of goals and assists this year would be Ramsey.
Yeah, if you can stay
Just a
fit.
good feeling. If he can muscle his way into that left hand side for the first 10 games of the season and battle off Gesand, and make sure that it's Gesand is battling with Malin on the right hand side, or even with Rogers, or being the second guy who comes on for Ollie Watkins up top for the last 20 minutes. If Jacob Ramsey can nail down that left hand side in all competitions, I could see him scoring 10 goals.
I think the opportunity's there early at the
Mm,
start of the season. So I think obviously Rogers is a lock in the three off the striker.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't think the rest is set in stone at the moment. I think there's a chance early on in the season, especially with Villa's fixtures as well,
Mhm.
for people to cement themselves in the team. So if you make a good start to this season as a Marlon, a Ramsey, a McGinn,
Yeah.
I think you lock yourself into this team. I think there's two spaces that are kind of up in the air at the moment. If you were to pick your best 11s, I think it's a good chance for those attacking players at the start of the season to really make a statement and say, right, this is my shirt, and I'm not going to give it up. And I'd love it to be Ramsey. I would love it to be Ramsey. I think it'll probably be Marlon, Rodgers if he's fit, and probably McGinn off Watkins for the first game. But after that, I think anything can happen. Gilbert Penguin at Mackerel Economy, two great names there, says Konsa, Mings and Torres to all score a header this year. This is the season centre-back goals return for us. And it has been a long time, probably since 2007, 2008, when Larson seemed to score every week. That just hasn't been a thing for Villa. We've had John Terry, one of the best headerers of the ball ever, and he scored one goal for us in a championship season. Our defenders just don't want to score goals for us, particularly centre-backs offset players.
Zach Knight, I remember scoring a header. I think Dick Dunn scored one or two. But yeah,
never it's prolific. Five goals. I cast 5 goals a season from a centre back is prolific.
I would be absolutely flabbergasted. There would be the longest pause at the start of a post-match podcast I would ever do if Pau Torres scored the winning goal from a header.
He's got a couple of headers for us, hasn't he? Scored 2 headers. No, I can't remember if the one against Wolves was a header or not. I don't think it was actually. I remember he scored a header against Spurs. It was a great header.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be schemed up to do it. Anyone who's ever gotten on the end of crosses more recently, especially from corners, has been Konsa. So I could see
Konsa's record was okay last season. I'll cut him some slack in front of goal. Konsa turned into a bit of a sniffer in front of goal last season, Konsa, at times. But Mings and Torres, neither of them scored last season. And Paul 084 says Maatsen and Mings to start more games than Luca Dean and Torres. It's going to be horses for courses, I think, with the left back and the left centre back. Depends who we're playing. Depends who's in form.
If Ian Maatsen can sort out his defensive positioning, Ian Maatsen will wrestle that left back position pretty early in the season.
Play more games. I think he'll play more games than Luca Dean this season, Maatsen.
I think he will, because I think he'll play a lot more games in Europe. But I'm still unconvinced with Ian Maatsen from a defensive position. Like, great footballers. Do not get me wrong. Great footballers. So I'm not down on Ian Maatsen. I think he could be absolutely otherworldly if his defensive positioning was better. But then again, I think it's by design that he's higher up the field. But you can't have him that high up the field without Ramsey in front of him and Pau Torres behind him. There's just too much area to cover for Pau Torres. There just is. And we saw that in the first half against Villarreal last night. Maatsen was gone forward and Torres was coming out into the sideline. And that is not where he wants to be. And that's not where we want him to be either. So for me, that's a spacing issue and a defensive positioning issue. But I like Ian Maatsen. He's my person I was thinking would score over 5 goals from defence this year. And I'm really excited to see what he can do for the season.
Okay, Lee Poltney. Aston Villa will feature in 0 of the pundit season previews. Instead, they will back a renaissance from Manchester United and Spurs. Villa will quietly go about their business and outperform both. I think we finish ahead of both those teams.
I do too. And I think I've already seen Ali McCoist as finishing in 5th.
I've seen a few people. I have actually seen a few people put us 5th.
I've seen a few people put us 5th above Spurs.
Yeah.
I've seen people say that there's going to be a massive resurgence because they finished 4th last year in Chelsea, but I've seen a lot of people say that Chelsea could be 2nd this year.
Really?
Maybe not a lot of people. I think I saw 1 or 2 people.
That's
Chelsea.
Not a lot, Neil. That's 1.
That's not a lot.
The opposite of a lot. That's the opposite of a lot.
If I've only seen 4 previews and 2 of them were saying Chelsea were finishing 2nd, that's
Well, Neil, did you watch a brand new YouTube channel? I've heard it's really good, called 1992. Dan Bardell and Jonathan Wilson.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Did you watch that season preview?
Yes.
You liar.
No, I haven't.
You big liar. I will say, football expert Jonathan Wilson, top journalist, one of the best there is.
He's super.
He had Villa 5th.
Yeah.
And I had Villa 5th, which made me feel less biased that he'd done it as well.
Yeah. I think that, us as fans, we are dead right to want us to progress from a player point of view. The excitement, and this is me talking, Mr. Transfer Window. I love the transfer window, but the reduction to the mean, I think, is what this off season is going to be after some really exciting off seasons and keeping the powder dry for January, because I definitely think that it's going to be, you're going to have that opportunity in January if you need to press the button like we did with Rashford and
If you're doing well as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you need to fight in both corridors, that's the way you do it in January. But once again, look, the proof is in the pudding. You have to negotiate a very tricky period at the start of the season first. Not the start of the season per se, but the first few months getting over Christmas before you get into the sweet shop in January. So it's fraught with danger, but it can be smart if you negotiate the first 3 months of the season well.
Yeah, and everyone should check out 1992, a show about the Premier League on YouTube. Neil's going to subscribe as soon as this show is finished, and he's going to watch the show.
Dan only does podcasts that start with numbers, so it's.
He's how I came up with it. To be honest, I wanted them to match. And Jonathan Wilson and myself will be previewing the Premier League action every single week on that channel. We won't discuss this one because I believe this is called hedging your bets. But the BDD Rocket has said Maatsen to start the season at left back, agrees with me about Kamara, Marlon to play a key role this season, Ollie Watkins 25 plus goal contributions. We will beat Palace at last and Villa to finish 5th. And I really hope some of the homegrown players get a chance. We need local identity in the team. I think that's hedging your bets, isn't it? That if you throw enough mud, something will stick.
Well, I think it's the beautiful optimism that I want. It's the beautiful optimism that on Friday night when I'm waiting for, or on Saturday morning when I wake up and I'm dipping my soldiers into my egg, that's what'll be going through my brain going, but obviously George Hemmings is going to make it into the next World Cup squad because he's going to be absolutely brilliant for Villa. He's going to be the bolter. He's going to be the Theo Walcott that no one saw coming. That's the way my brain will be going on Saturday morning. So for sure. But if nothing else than that comes through, the beaten Palace.
No win at Palace, no win at Old Trafford. Just forget about it. 0 points. I've already accepted my fate. I will say as well, that's the kind of tweet that on Saturday at around 2:30, 3 o'clock, people could be replying to, saying that you don't know what you're talking about based off one game. Yeah. Vinny 41 says JJ recovery arc on the way, 15 plus goals and assists, and Onana to get into beast mode and get player of the season. That's one kind of thing that we've all kind of spoke about a little bit on podcasts, is that not Maatsen, Onana in the second season could do that Tielemans arc, Marlon as well. It has been spoken about quite a lot in podcast circles, hasn't it now?
Yeah, and look, hey, the more Tielemans arcs in the team, the better for everybody. I think.
Sure.
I think Maatsen is Maatsen and Malin. Probably it's just because of playing time for Onana. I would have liked to have seen Onana maybe playing that 10 position and just be a big Brutus up there, but it didn't happen in preseason. But he has the ability to do that. I think he's going to be coming into that midfield a small bit more. Maybe there would be times that we play three in midfield there, in away games.
Tielemans in the 10. I could see that on Saturday. 10, I could see that on Saturday. As I know, I mentioned what I thought the team might be, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tielemans was in the 10 and it was Kamara and Onana. That wouldn't surprise me.
Or maybe even more of a almost a 4-3-3 kind of situation, and a 4-2-2-2 situation with Morgan, Rogers, and Tielemans beside each other. Maybe Malin up top with Watkins, and then you've got Kamara and Onana then back there again. Or McGinn up there beside Watkins or whatever.
Somewhere.
Yeah, McGinn up beside, we saw McGinn play up very far forward for his high pressing last year as well. Even though he was on that right hand side, he was the one who kind of tucked inside and was all action. So, if we do go back to that box midfield, that's quite easy. Onana could rack up a lot of appearances based on that.
For sure. Now listen, I will say as well, there's a chance here. I'm not the man to do it. I've always felt there's room for Onana and Kamara for like a bananas in pajamas chant. I don't know. Onana and Kamara are coming down the stairs. I don't know what you do with that, but I feel there's potential there for it.
There's a man who's getting his kids' cartoons watching in early before.
There's definite potential there, though. I think it rhymes.
It does.
I'll leave that with you, Neil. If you can come up with something around that would be absolutely fantastic.
It's better than some chants I've seen thrown out for players over the years anyway. That's 100% for sure.
Something's coming. That's coming. Someone cleverer than me is going to come up with that. That's for certain.
That's one that'll be picked up by Lad Bible, after the first game that it's sang it. It'll definitely be picked up by something like that.
Come on. Onana and Kamara, bananas in pajamas. Let's make that happen. Alex Berwick, probably one of the best Villa accounts to follow on Twitter, in my opinion. Speaks a lot of sense. Should really be doing some form of podcast himself, I've got to say, with his knowledge.
I've been on mine before.
Oh, have you? I've been rebuffed.
He's a great guy. You're too good on Twitter or on X.
Yeah, he's too sensible. Too sensible.
Yeah.
He says, concert to play every Premier League minute. and Watkins to finish on 19 Premier League goals. It's a curse. The Conte one's interesting. He's slightly less durable than he has been in previous seasons. Last year, did miss a few games with injuries. I remember him sat down on the floor against Manchester United in that horrible 0-0 game. The Watkins 19 goals. Something's got to change at some point. Just like we beat Manchester United in Emery's first game at Villa Park. At some point, something has to change with that, and someone will do it. And I would bloody love it to be Ollie Watkins. I would.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. This is one from Sean UTV. Says, Emi Martinez, player of the season, point to prove, and one of the under-18s from last season to make a mark on the squad by the end of the season.
I really want one of the under-18s, and I think it could be the less heralded one of Tristan Rowe. Like, I
he's
think
got a shot at right back, actually.
I think he's got a shot at playing more games than we thought he would have prior to the season. With Garcia being out injured, I think he's taking that brass. Yeah, I think he's taking that brass ring. Now, obviously, you've got Bogard that'll probably be in there. Matty Cash, I think it'll be Matty Cash starts the weekend.
Of course.
But I think in a cup game, you could see Tristan Rowe, whereas like two months ago, nobody would have been talking about it because Tristan Rowe would have been a case of, get him to the championship, do a Ken Kessler Hayden on him, have a couple of good loans, and then flog him off for PSR. But I've seen enough to think that he could be a rotational Premier League. And you know what? The best thing about it was last night I only realised he's 18. He hasn't even turned 19 yet. And he looks very stocky and stout. And because of the way he looks, I just presumed he was 19 going on 20 as opposed to 18 going on 19.
Yeah, the physique's there, isn't it?
And while that doesn't sound big, it's big for the like he's played against some bloody good teams over the last 6 weeks, and that's impressive, for an 18-year-old. Really impressive.
Yeah. NRF 1 at AVFC, similar theme here. 2 cup semi-finals and at least 6 in the league. Bogard and Hemmings to save us a load of expenditure. I think Bogard's got a shot this season. I've said that countless times in the summer. And Hemmings is one that's really kind of alerted us to his abilities in the last few weeks. And Jacob's gone on about him for a long time. To be fair, Jacob really loves him as a footballer. And with Barkley struggling with fitness a little bit last season and a little bit in pre-season as well, might be a chance to get some minutes and be kept around in that first half of the season to see how you go. And then if you don't get enough minutes, you go in January.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Kit Tula Farm, Fran, says, Anana player of the season, Villa top 4 at Christmas. I do think with Villa's first kind of 8 games, there's a real chance to hit the ground running in the Premier League and cement yourself in and around the top echelons of the league at the start of the season now.
It's a dirty Christmas we have, though.
Yeah, but before, if we can that's why we get the points in before Christmas, and then we're there.
Be spoilers for other teams, like draws, like be that draw merchant of a team against teams around Christmas time. Once again, look, this is kind of off topic slightly, but we're kind of like lines in the grass in a way. Like a lot of the other clubs, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, all played in the Club World Cup as well, and we don't know what effect that's going to have on players when they come back. At the start, specifically at the start of the season, like some players are not really well rested. Villa are pretty well rested and pretty well primed. I know that they've had the opportunity to play together, and they've kept sharp during that Club World Cup, but we don't know what way that's going to happen from soft tissue injuries or what's going to happen there from soft tissue injuries, etc. But you only have to look at Nottingham Forest last year. The outside clubs that make a run early in the year are the ones that stay as healthy as possible, and that's what derailed Villa at the middle of last year. 10 games of having completely and utterly, like literally, it was a game of guess who was going to play centre half last year. If we can have a bit of injury luck, I think Aston Villa would be very formidable. But then again, every other team in the Premier League is saying exactly the same thing, But injuries, limitation of injuries for Aston Villa will be super, super critical.
We have had some killer injury luck in the last few years. I know we're not alone in that, but it feels like there's been runs of games where it's just like one thing after another. We definitely have had that at the end of the Champions League season when we qualified for the Champions League, and at the start of last season, or like the Christmas period was just ridiculous when it came to injuries. Every game there was a period where it was like 6 or 7 home games in a row. Someone got carried off or had to walk off the pitch, and like just kept happening. So injuries does make or break seasons, doesn't it? To an extent. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Villa fitness wise this season. So now like that, all the tweets that I'd picked out got nearly 200 replies to that tweet. They're the ones that I've picked out. Has anything else come into your head whilst we've been filming, or is that it? You're happy to stand by your original predictions? Because I want to think of something different. Because mine were a bit boring.
I'm just going to throw out something bonkers, like we will have a situation during the year whereby we'll have made 3 substitutions. We've made all 5 substitutions, and Bizot in a cup game will get injured, and one of our outfield players will have to go on goals.
Whoa, that's a bold shout. That is a big.
It's literally, you just if you wanted something bonkers, that's the only thing I could think of. But everybody remembers when an outfield player goes in goals for that 5 minutes, like John O'Shea's cameo in goals,
John Terry's
Phil
been in goal.
Jagielka, yeah, John Terry. Everybody remembers that. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's the craziest thing I can think of on the spot.
Okay, I'm going to throw another one out there. It's very Mings related today as well. Mings gets into the England World Cup squad. If Dan Burns got a shot, a fully fit Tyrone for a whole season, I've got to believe would have a shout.
And you could be right. Levi Colwell being badly injured.
Yeah, there we go.
Badly injured. That's your left-sided centre half. So maybe he comes in that position. And we know that Thomas Tuchel will pick older type players. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to tie
experience. He wants the experience, doesn't he?
Yeah, he will.
Okay, right, Neil. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to converse with you about Aston Villa. Have you anything that you'd like to plug before we go?
No, I just
any obscure scouting of the Uzbekistan league or anything on your channel recently?
Nothing like that. I think, look, one of the things that's kind of keep me going at the moment is just a tiny new segment that I've done. It's trying to break down the Aston Villa news in 8 minutes or less every day. I think called Villa AM. Biggest reason is a lot of people have come to me and they've said, I don't like doing social media anymore because, look, they just don't find it beneficial in an awful lot of ways. But then they find that they're missing news about Villa. So what I try and do is aggregate that and just spit it out in a podcast in 8 minutes or less in the morning time. So Monday to Friday, I'll be popping those out. So if social media isn't really people's thing, or you don't want to be consistently refreshing for Aston Villa, we try and cover as much of that as we possibly can. And it's released at 5 a.m. every morning because I'm a lunatic.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. A bit like news now in a podcast form. News, Neil.
I would like to hope it's delivered in a less pop-up adverty way than News Now is, but yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, everyone watch out for that. Then I don't think anyone else is doing that kind of thing. So it's certainly individual niche content from Neil there. If you are not subscribed to this channel with post notifications on already on YouTube, if you could do that, that would be very much appreciated. We're limping towards 28,000 subscribers. So if we could get there before the start of the season, that would be absolutely fantastic. And if you could take on my earlier guidance and advice by subscribing to 1992 as well, I'll get a link in the description there. Jonathan Wilson and myself previewing the Premier League every single week, and there'll be other content popping up on that channel as well. If you're listening to this podcast or show, then if you're on Apple or Spotify, leave us 5 stars, leave us a comment, leave us a review. That would be very much appreciated. Signing up to Match Bingo would be appreciated as well. I'm asking for an awful lot here at the end of the show. And I think that's pretty much it. So thanks again to Neil. Thanks again to Match Bingo. And as always, we'll end with an Up the Villa. Up the Villa now.
Up the Villa.
Thank you.